Welcome, one and all. It's actually Super Thursday. We missed yesterday, but still super anyways. Welcome to the Holy Apple. We are on the 12th day of the 9th month of Kislev 5778. Put on your seatbelts. As we like to say, we will rock you. Yeah, we're going to rock. So just reminding ourselves, of course, these classes are for the sake of heaven, to do God's will, to come closer to God, to improve ourselves, and also to remove the presence of the divine presence from the exile. Okay, today's topic, I hope that we will be able to do it in 2 sittings. This will bring us up right to Hanukkah, which is exactly in 12 days. So, God willing, this will bring us right up there. Now, the title of this series is called Uniting with Wicked Jews? ? Those that follow the class, we spoke about uniting. Will Esav and Jacob unite? Now we will talk, will the faithful Jews unite with the wicked Jews? That's the question. The answers to the question are, believe it or not, usually we speak on subjects, not necessarily the portion that we read the Torah during the week, but this week it fits in beautifully. It is in much that we will discuss is in this week's portion. Okay, so let's roll. There is a contradiction between 2 sources of our sages. Our source number 1 comes from the tractate Bava Batra. On page 123, you're going to have to do some exercises to get all the way to 123. You have to do some arm exercises there. Good luck. It says the following. It says that, quotes a verse in the portion of Vayetze. It says, in the chapter 29 of Genesis, it says that the eyes of Leah, one of our mothers, there was some kind of blemish in the eyes of Leah, our mother. So the Talmud asks a very simple question. We know that when the Torah has to bring and speak about animals which are not kosher, they do not call them impure animals. They say animals that are not pure, which is a nicer way of saying it, a more delicate way of saying that these animals are not kosher. So the Talmud says that if the Torah bends over backwards to make sure not to speak any despairing words for animals and to speak positively, how much more so for righteous people like Leah, our mother. So how could the Torah be telling us that Leah's eyes were blemished? So how could this be? So Rabbi Elazar, his answer is no. It says rakot, which is kind of like she had soft eyes. Her eyes were reddish or tearing. But in Hebrew, the word rakot, you could also express the word arukot, which means long. And Rabbi Elazar goes on to say that what the Torah meant about Leah's eyes, that she had long eyes. Now, what does that mean, long eyes? You know, you might think that might kind of be a racial. I know that in the World Series, there was some player that was making fun of a Japanese pitcher on the Dodgers. think it was on the Houston Astros, and like he was like making his eye kind of, you know, like they have kind of like the long eyes. This is not a racial remark here. So it means that, what does it mean by long eyes? It means the following, that she had so many tremendous children that filled tremendous positions of leadership in the Jewish people. From Leah, Rabbi Lazar goes on, came priesthood. From Leah came the Levites. From Leah comes the kingdom of the Jewish people. I mean, that's a lot of heavy hitters you have right there. That's what it means, that her eye, it's not speaking negatively about Leah, it's speaking positively, because the Torah would not say a negative remark about a righteous person. Okay, but there's a second opinion here. Rav says, no, what the Torah says, that they were blemished, it's exactly what happened. Her eyes were not pretty. They were not beautiful eyes. Why is that? And if she doesn't have pretty eyes, that seems like kind of a negative statement to make about somebody. Oh, your eyes are ugly? So the Talmud says, Rav says, no, this is to her credit. This is a statement how beautiful she is. Why is she beautiful? Because she cried so many years. Why was she crying so many years? I mean, if you watch every day As the World Turns, or Guiding Light, I can understand why you're crying every day. You know those soap operas, man. You know, they can make you cry. But I doubt she was watching those, soap operas, the soaps. So, why was she crying? Because when she was growing up, when she was at marital age, she heard in the neighborhood, she heard in the community, she heard everywhere she goes, she would hear that Lavan has, Mr. White, he has two daughters. One's, the firstborn, and the other one is younger. And and Isaac has two children. One is Esav and one is Jacob. And Lavan has two kids. One is Rachel and the other one is Leah. Now, it's only people would tell her, Leah, that because you're the eldest, you're the firstborn, you will marry Esav, and Jacob, who is younger than Jacob that came out after Esav, he's younger, he will marry then Rachel. So imagine growing up, everywhere you go, you're hearing, hey, Leah, congratulations. Guess what? What happened? Oh, you're going to get married one day soon. You're going to get married to the evil Esav. Well, this didn't make her too thrilled or too happy. So she would be crying all day, and she would be praying, please save me from this decree, God. I do not want to be with this wicked soul, this Mr. Esav. Keep him away from me. And therefore, after so many years of crying, in order not to be married with the evil Esav, it affected her eyes. And her eyes were not so beautiful anymore. But the fact that somebody cared so much not to be connected to wicked people and cried about it for years, that merit is not something derogatory. Her eyes are beautiful. Her eyes are beautiful. Because of the fact she does not want to unite with the wicked. She wants to keep her distance. Okay, that's a first source. Second source is, that was in last week's portion. In this week's portion, we have something very interesting. We have the big, after 36 years, drum roll please, we have the big reunion between Esav and Jacob. They meet up, and it says in the Torah, it says that Jacob had his children, his 11 children, go before Esav and prostrate themselves to bow down. Well, if you make the counting, Jacob had 12 kids because he had one daughter named Dinah. So the Talmud says, on the verse of 11, the sages say on Breshit Rabbah 66:9, ask the following question: where was Dinah? How come it should say 12 bow down to Esav? 12 of his children. Where was Dinah? So the sages tell us something very interesting, that Jacob hid her in one of the suitcases or one of the baggage, one of the containers. She was hiding out. Why? Because Jacob wanted to make sure that the wicked Esav would not cast his eyes upon his daughter Dinah and perhaps want to marry her. He wanted to avoid that. So therefore he hid. And the sages go on to say an amazing statement. Because of the fact that Jacob hid his daughter Dinah, and therefore they never got married, and therefore there was never an opportunity for Dinah to bring back Esav, the wicked Esav, bring him back to repent. There was never any opportunity that he had to repent. So therefore Jacob was punished. How was Jacob punished? The sages go on to say the following. Based on a verse in Job 6:14. It says the following, that you did not allow a kindness to go to your brother. Jacob, you stopped and you did not allow a tremendous kindness for your brother. What was the kindness? The kindness was to give your daughter Dinah over to the wicked Esav, and Dinah would then have tremendous influence on Esav, and she would have brought him back. There was a chance that she would bring him back to repent and bring him on the on the road of the righteous here. And so therefore, listen to the words of the sages. Because of the fact that you did not want to give your daughter to Esav, who had a circumcision, therefore your daughter Dinah will be abused and raped by Shechem, in the city of Shechem, by a person who is uncircumcised. And because of the fact that you did not want to legally give over your daughter and make it a kosher Jewish wedding, so therefore your daughter will be taken in an unkosher manner. Instead of having a kosher wedding, so your daughter is going to be abused sexually in an unkosher manner. And instead of giving over your daughter to Esav, who is part of the family of Abraham, Isaac, then she will be given over later on to a person who's a Gentile. His name was Job, Eov. Now, this is an amazing contradiction here. Check it out. On one hand, the Talmud in Bava Batra is praising tremendously our mother Leah for the fact that she cried her eyes out to make sure that she would not have to marry this wicked guy Leah. On the other hand, Leah's daughter Dinah, the sages come down hard on Jacob for the fact that he hid his daughter, that she would not be seen by Esav, and therefore there was no chance that they would marry, and there was no chance therefore that maybe he would repent if he married a righteous woman like Dinah. Now, this is total contradiction. Either keeping your distance from the wicked is a good thing, or, maybe we should be out there and trying to join forces and hugging and marrying. Instead of looking for God-fearing people, maybe we should try to go out there and see all the girls or all the guys that are the furthest away spiritually possible. Maybe that's what. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on doing that for my kids. I don't think you would either. So what in the world is going on here? What in the world is going on here? So let's start off with an amazing statement. You know, sometimes people, God forbid, sometimes people that are ignorant, they say that, you know, Judaism is not New Age, it's not fashionable, but nothing could be further from the truth. Now listen to this. This was written thousands of years ago. It says in Breshit Rabbah 17:12, chapter 17, paragraph 12. Listen to this. Interesting case. It says there was a case where a righteous man was married to a righteous woman. But they were married for many, many years and they did not have children. After many, many years of being married, they spoke amongst each other and they said, how are we benefiting God in this world? God put us here to reproduce, to pass down the tradition, to keep the torch lit of Torah and Judaism. So it's good that, you know, that we're keeping the light going, but God, the first commandment in the Torah, in the Bible, is that a person should multiply and have children, procreate. So therefore, maybe we should divorce. Maybe we should get divorced. So after many, many years together and no children, they said, okay. And therefore, they usually divorces are pretty ugly, but this one was extremely friendly, and it was for the sake of heaven. And it says the following. It says the Chassid, that the righteous man, he went out and married another woman, and the woman was a wicked woman. She was not a good soul. And she turned him into a wicked guy. On the other hand, the righteous woman, she went out and she married a wicked person, a wicked man. And she turned him into a righteous person. So what is the conclusion of our sages? Havei she'akol min ha'isha. This is amazing. Thousands of years ago, it says everything is dependent on the wife. Everything is dependent on the woman. Yeah? You think about, sometimes people will say ignorant statements, you know, that, where's the women's rights in Judaism? Well, where's the male rights over here? Here's what it says. Unbelievable. That, of course, when the sages are saying that this is a principle most of the time. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. There is tremendous power, much more so in a woman than a man. A woman could really turn around her family. If she puts the ball into her court and into her hands, she could really take care of it. And we see this with both sources we mentioned. Number one, we see very clearly that there was a possibility that this decree over Leah, there was a possibility that Leah could have brought Esav to repent. And also Dinah. Dinah was so powerful also, that she too could have brought the evil Esav to repent. So we have a mother and daughter, and they both have tremendous powers. And interesting, it says, the Torah says about both of them, it says, and it uses an expression how they go outside. It says that by Leah, and it says that by Dinah. Now that's a very important expression, because we know usually the Torah teaches us how a woman who is modest is more of a house being than the outside being. So what does that mean that both of them went out? It's a tremendous thing. Because if you think about it, like when you go to the wall, there was this famous rabbi. He passed away about 2 years ago. He would, he was called the rabbi off the wall. He would stand in the back and he would come up to all these kids, all these males and females, and he would start talking to them and try to convince them, Rabbi Meir Schuster of blessed memory. Yeah. So he would come up to thousands and thousands tens of thousands probably of kids and teenagers and students and other older people, and he would ask them if they're interested in enrolling in a Jewish yeshiva to study. So anyways, he was a person that's where he spent his time. He was out on the streets. And that's exactly the power that the Torah is telling us of Dinah and Leah. They had the power to go outside of the box, outside of the synagogue, and they had so much power. They were tremendous souls that they had the power to affect lower souls, wicked souls, and they were not necessarily in danger themselves spiritually. They could stand up to it. So that's just a side note, a beautiful idea by the Torah, and should give a lot of power to, saying to the Jewish women out there that a lot of it, or most of it, is depending on you. So take it seriously. Okay. Now, back to our subject. This contradiction is clear. On one hand, Leah is praised for not wanting to unite with a wicked Esav. On the other hand, Jacob is reprimanded due to the fact that he didn't give over his daughter. He did not allow his daughter to be seen by the wicked Esav, and there was a chance that she could have brought him to repent. So therefore, he was reprimanded. So how do we solve this question? Before we solve the question, there are difficulties, especially what our sages tell us as far as Dinah is concerned. We will speak about 3 difficulties here. These are internal problems with the equation. Sometimes you have 1 and 1, and all of a sudden it says 3, but it doesn't add up. So there's a problem here. Problem number 1. We mentioned in Breshit Rabbah, 76:9. We spoke about the fact that God sends a message, so to speak, over to Jacob, that because of the fact that you did not want to give your daughter over to a person that was circumcised, Esav, what will happen is that your daughter will be given over to those that are uncircumcised. Specifically, Shechem, the son of Hamor, who raped Dinah. There's only one slight, I use the word lightly, problem with this. The question is this true? Is this accepted that Esav was circumcised? Okay, now I don't know if we could go back to the records, and check out with all the records to see if he did have a circumcision. Don't know. But let me bring up 2 sources. Very interesting. I know you never thought of this. Very interesting question. Was Esav circumcised? Okay, number 1. It says in Breshit Rabbah 63:8. It says the following. according to this source, it says that Esau, when he was born, he was red. He was full of the red color. He was extremely red. And it says the following: when his father Isaac saw him so red, he was very worried and nervous about circumcising him at the age of 8, because he looked like there was some kind of illness here. So Isaac did not circumcise Mr. Esau at the age of 8 days. Okay, now a year goes by, or 2 years go by, and Yitzchak notices, okay, we have an Esau, now he's a toddler, he's 1 or 2 years old, and he's still the same color. So Yitzchak catches the idea here that this is the way he's born. It's not an illness. It's just the way that he's born. You know, you could see somebody, they look like a beet or look like a tomato. You know something's wrong. They have like a fever or something's going on here. But after 2 years, I guess, you know, I guess the fever, he doesn't have a fever. There's some, that's the way the person is. He understood that he was born with this predicament. That's the way he is. And even so, Isaac did not circumcise him. Why? Isaac said the following: because of the fact that I missed the important day, which is the 8th day, I will wait till the bar mitzvah. I will wait till the age of 13 to circumcise Esau. We'll wait till the age of 13. Okay, so now 11 years go by. Yeah, the toddler now is 13 years old. And just like Yishmael had a circumcision at the age of 13, Esau is going to have a circumcision. You know, they call everybody for the party. But now there's a problem. Why? Because now, as we know, we spoke about this a few weeks ago, that the sages tell us that up until the age of 13, Jacob and Esau were the same. Were very, very similar, very, very righteous. And when the kid turns 13, okay, all of a sudden at the age of 13, they separated paths totally. Jacob continued the good path of righteousness, and Esau totally went off. In fact, we will see later that he did tremendous sins, transgressions. He wasn't like just like sometimes you go off what they call OTD, off the derech, which means that people that they're religious and all of a sudden they have, you know, they start going off the path. No, that wasn't the case here. Really evil stuff. We'll get into it. But he's at the age of 13 now, and all of a sudden they say, oh, you know what? In a couple of days, besides for your bar mitzvah, we're going to also have a circumcision. So he says, well, you could blank both of them, you know? No bar mitzvah and, you know, no circumcision. So now, you know, it's the halacha is that if a child does not want to circumcise, if it comes to that, it's on their, right now it's on their account, not on the parents anymore. And so therefore, it says that in conclusion here, it says that Esau hated the blood of the circumcision. Just like today, you have various, there's a minority of Jews that fight against circumcision, or there's places in Europe and in the world that want to ban circumcision. So it actually, don't blame them, blame Esau, because that's where it's coming from. It says that we're right now in Torah Shlema, which was written by Rav Menachem Kasher. We're in the Toldot, the portion of Toldot, 25th chapter, and it's paragraph 133. Rav Kasher says, I don't understand what